Hello again and welcome to another edition of Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds with a particular focus on the expedition style Budgerigar. So in this episode, first what I want to do is just talk a little bit about July, as we're right at the beginning of July, and what I've got planned in my shed for the month of July. But the main focus of the episode will be the end of the breeding season, and we will have a look at the last few of the young baby budgerigars and the final round of the Fife Canaries. As always, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you want to see more of Shed Talk videos, then do of course subscribe to the channel, and for early notifications then ring the bell. Right, so what we'll start off with then is talking a little bit about what we've got planned for June. So July in my shed, the main or the big thing that's happening in July of course is the very first show, Oxford 1910 Young Bird Show, and actually as this video goes out we'll be setting up in the hall for that show, and that there will be a video of that show, or some video of that show in the next episode. Of course the other thing that I've got to do is close down the final breeding cages. The one in here isn't too difficult for the budgerigars, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Outside in the Finch and Fife flight, of course I need to shut down the breeding cage for the Fife Canaries, and again we'll talk about that in Fife from breeding to bench. Of course we mustn't forget that there are still is some breeding going on, or touch wood, there is still some breeding going on with the zebra finches, so we'll need to keep an eye on that throughout the month of July. So that really is July, closing the breeding down and entering our first show and seeing where we are in terms of the competition. Right, what we'll do now then is, now I've spoken a little bit about that, is we'll have a look at the last few of the baby budgerigars. What I will do is get them out, we'll pop them into a show cage and have a quick talk about them. So here is that light green, normal light green bird that we spoke about. The oldest of all of the birds, and I think this is going to be, or all of the three birds that we're going to look at, and I think this is going to be a hen. At my first guess. So overall, it's going to be the only bird we're going to get off of the that pair, because the other two of course are not our fostered birds. Looks like it's going to have some reasonable sized spots. So anyway, I think it's going to be very soon going to be time to get this one back into the nappy flight. Has a reasonable stance on him, or the shape. So no indication that he's going to have a dropped or hinged tail at the moment. So there we go, that's the first one. So this here is the first of the young dark greens, and the first that we're going to look at that's off of the, all of the fostered youngsters, so off of the cobalt. And we know it's off of the cobalt because the fact that it's a dark green. In the pair that fostered it out, there's no dark factor in it, and with dark factor being co-dominant, it means that any of the dark, if it's got dark green in it, one of the parents must have been dark. So if it's got the dark factor, one of the parents must have been dark. This bird is just breaking its cap. It's going to be a cock bird without a doubt, he says. It's still got the black on the beak, so still quite young, but it has been feeding itself, so it will go into the nappy flight now. It's got quite a nice longish feather on it, and I do like the way it stands, but it's still got that little bit of a hunch at the back of the tail, so we'll have to see how that develops as it continues on. Going to be one of the, being so late bred, it won't get out until the very last of the shows, if it does go out at all. And it's going to be quite difficult to assess this bird when I do my assessments in September, along with its sibling that we'll look at in just a minute. Looks a bit short at the moment, but it's still got loads and loads and loads of growing to do. And of course, this is the very first time all three of these birds we're looking at will have seen the inside of a show cage. So they will all be very, very nervous. So that's the second of the youngsters that we're going to look at. Like I say, off of the cobalt, and a normal dark green. Time to put this one back into the, or not back into, but time to put this one into the nappy flight, so it can join the sibling we've just put in. And finally, another dark green, as you can see, and another one that's off of the cobalt for the same reason. It's off the cobalt for the same reason as I just described. Of the two youngsters, I sort of prefer this one. Of the two of the last of the cobalt youngsters, I think I sort of prefer this one. It stands much better on the perch. Another cock bird, by the way, I thought I'd just say that. So we're finally getting a few cock birds, but again, too young to go out into any of the last of the shows. I just like the way this one stands in comparison to the other one. I need to check it later in terms of the potential for crossing wings at the back. It looks like it might have just a little bit of that. Quite broad shoulders on this one as well by the looks of it. Looks like it's going to be quite a broad bird, although still narrow in the head, but like I say, got plenty of growing still to do. Looks like it's going to have reasonable depth of mask, but they do change so quickly from this age when they're going through their molt. And you can see he's just starting to break his cap a little bit. So he's still in between barhead and young bird. So that's the last one. This one will also now go into the nappy flight, and I will have no more youngsters in any of the breeding cages. In the breeding cages now, all we've got left is the mother of, well, not the mother, but the one that brought this up, the foster mum of this bird, and the mother of the light green that we saw right at the beginning. So as I say, time to put this one back in the main flight. So that is all of the youngsters from cage 1 looked at. Mum is still a little bit stressed out at the moment, to be honest. She's looking for her youngsters. I think she can see them in the nappy flight, but hopefully she'll soon settle down. I will pop this last bird that's in here into the nappy flight. Really settled in here, and you know, surprising for the first time in a showcase that it's that settled. The light green was all over the place for most of the time when I was filming. So, like I say, that's that done. Back into the nappy flight. What we will do now is we'll go out into the finch and fife flight, and we'll have an update on the fife from breeding to bench. So here we are in the finch and fife shed for fifes from breeding to bench. So how did we get on with the fifes? Well, the first thing to say is I have had my first setback with the Fife Canaries. So the second round was going really well, and due to some work commitments, it meant I didn't get out into the shed until so the evening, I suppose. Yeah, the evening. So it was almost a full day before I managed to get out here to do all of the work that I would normally do in both sheds, in fact. And what I had missed was that the hen had started to feather pluck the youngsters. She wanted to go back down to nest. I had made the mistake, and I've spoken to a couple of people about this, but I'd made the mistake of not putting any additional nesting material in there. As you remember from the last video, I had taken the nest pan out and just left him in there, and I thought that would be sufficient, but clearly the hen wanted to go back down, and because she wanted to go back down and there was no nesting material, she had started to feather pluck the youngsters, and it was actually quite bad. So you can see from the pictures exactly, you know, some of them are worse than others. Funny enough, it seems like it was the variegated that she went at worst. So I had then, what I did was I then put some nesting material into the cage to give her something else to do, rather than pick on the youngsters, and I'm continuing to do that. So there is nesting material constantly in the cage. As soon as I put it in there, she went straight for it and was picking it up and carrying it around. Of course, she didn't have anywhere to go to nest because there is no nest pan. By doing this, I've managed to stop her from feather plucking, but in all honesty, it looks like it was a bit late for these 4 youngsters. I don't know, with the budgerigars, in most cases when they've been feather plucked, the feathers never really recover from it, and I'm not sure about the Fife Canaries. So those of you that breed fifes, let me know if it's likely that any of these are going to fully recover from their feather plucking experience. We learn, don't we? We learn from our errors, from our mistakes, and from things that happen in the shed. But all 4 doing well. They're just about weaned. There's still one that keeps calling. So what I plan to do this week, in fact, is to move the cockbird out and then separate off the youngsters from the hen one side, the youngsters the other. And hopefully the youngsters will be feeding themselves all right, but if they're not, then the hen can feed the youngsters through the bars. So first setback with the fifes, it was always going to happen, wasn't it? Or the first major setback with the fifes, it was always going to happen. And as I say, we will learn from that. The other thing that happened, and those of you that follow us on the Shed Talk Facebook page will be aware of this, is that the hen decided she wanted to start laying. And in fact, she started laying in the soft food dish, and so far I have, every time I come in the morning, she's laid back in the empty soft food dish, and I've had to chuck that egg away. Now, I really don't enjoy chucking what is potentially, you know, fertile eggs away. you always have this vision that the fertile egg is going to be the next best in show, don't you? So I don't like chucking them away, but I really don't want them to go for a third round. So I'm going to chuck these away, hopefully after she's laid 4th, 5th egg. Like I say, so far she's laid 4. So after she's laid her 4th or 5th egg, I'm hoping that will be the lot. And by removing the cockbird, I'm hoping that will settle her down. But she's still obviously in condition. I did speak to somebody about this and said it really is, and they said it was really a bit late for them to go for a third round. So that's where we are. Like I say, I've now got to get some more cages out in here, so that what I plan to do is over the next week or two set up at least another 2 of these wire cages. That will give me a total of 8 different sections. So I'm hoping therefore I can split the youngsters into, it'll give them separate cages. That would be my ideal, and then somewhere to put the cock in and the hen. Cockbird, probably going to bung him back in with the zebras. Hen, I'm reluctant to put her in there because there are some nest boxes in there, and I'm a bit worried she might decide that she wants to start using those to lay, or start interfering with the zebras. So I need to find somewhere for the hen to go. Still thinking about that in terms of the number of cages that I've currently got. So there we go. Like I say, you know, we learn from our mistakes, first setback, but we do have some youngsters, and hopefully the 3 youngsters that are going out to the Oxford 1910 show this weekend will do reasonably well. While I'm on the subject of that, thanks to those of you who fed back on the 3 youngsters. I'm still not sure about yellow and buff, of which of them they are. I think, and I still think that I've got 1 buff in there and 2 yellows, but we'll find out when the judge Ron classes them all, won't we? Anyway, there we are. So that's it from Fives from breeding to bench. Well, let me know your thoughts on the Fives and whether you think their feathers will grow back. I suppose my big concern is that most of them didn't actually have a tail, so I'm wondering whether the tails will grow back. When we saw some of them, it does look as if they've got pin feathers coming back through, both on the back and on the chest, so it may well be that they'll recover from there. But let me know your thoughts, and particularly whether they will ever get a tail back. They certainly wouldn't be able to go out on the show bench, I don't think. Either way, so that's the Fives all looked at. I'm pleased to say that Mum has settled back down, having, you know, taken the youngsters away. Don't normally have a problem with when you take the youngsters out of the breeding cage, but for some reason this particular hen spent a little while, it was only about 15 minutes, but spent about 15 minutes running up and down the cage. She could see the youngsters in the nappy flight and seemed to be trying to get to them. But she has, like I say, has settled down now, so that's really good news. She's going to have a couple of weeks in the breeding cage on her own, and then we'll pop her back into the main flight, and then that will be everything out of the breeding cages all together, and we will be well into the show season, which sort of leads me on to the next video, where we will have some pictures, I hope, some video of the Oxford 1910 show, which I've now got to start finalising for. As I say, by the time this video comes out, or this episode comes out, we will be at the show, so I need to get some cages cleaned and make sure that the birds, which are the birds I'm going to take. I've been looking at them over the last week since I cleaned them up, and I think there's probably only one of the young birds that is going to be ready to go out, but who knows, maybe there might be 2, but there's definitely, most of them are just too young to go out. So like I say, we'll have a look at those over the next, or I'll get them out over the next day or 2 and finalise my decision. Right, that is all we've got time for in this particular episode. If you do enjoy it, don't forget to hit the like button. Please do, of course, subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts and comments. So, until the next episode, stay safe enjoy your birds.